Christina Scott, Senior Vice President here at GBTA, and we're coming to you live from the Canada Conference in Toronto 2025. I'm here with Mike Farrell, the Global Commercial Lead at Deem. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being back here at the conference in Canada. So much energy going on in the floor and throughout the sessions today.
Great. I'm glad you were able to join us again this year. So can you describe Deem's growth plans and opportunities over the next year and beyond?
Absolutely, and great question to start off with. Before we talk about growth though, I think it's really important to talk about roots. If you think of an oak tree needs a lot of strong, healthy roots in order to grow, in order to move forward. Deem this year celebrating our 26th year in business. Started out as Reardon Commerce, everybody remembers that name in the industry, and then has evolved throughout the years, constantly growing, but also make sure that our roots have stayed secure. So, I always say to my kids that, as my parents said to me, and I'm sure yours did to you, you have to develop those great roots along the way in order to grow as an adult, grow as a human. And Deem has taken on that philosophy rather strongly, and it's actually giving us a benefit through the evolution of the online booking tool as we're seeing in the industry now. So I'll give you the comparison. We've been around 26 years. People like Garner Swan, who is industry known in our industry, has been there for the entire journey, and his IP, his technology prowess has not only given us the roots, but it's also given us the ability to adapt to those winds that come along and might knock over an oak tree that doesn't have the roots or hasn't been around a long time. Really has given us the ability to adapt along that way. People like Brandy Byers, who's here with us today, giving demos. It's been a great opportunity for Deem not only to have those roots, but to continue to grow in the industry. As far as our strategy, so let's talk about where we are moving forward. It's really two folds to that. One is where we're growing, geography, content, those things. We're currently in 64 countries right now, servicing travelers in 64 countries through some of our largest corporate direct accounts and some of our TMC accounts that we're working with. This year, we had a real fun time doing a strategic targeted growth in Australia and New Zealand. An opportunity opened in the market because of decisions made in the industry and with certain players, that it opened up an ability for Deem. Not 5 years ago, Australia was not on our map, but over the past 2 years, it became a wonderful target for us, and I've had the opportunity to spend almost a month down there. Our general manager, Kyle Moore, Gardner Swan, who I talked about, we spent a lot of time listening to travel agencies in the market and finding out, what is your need, what do you need, and how can we deliver? We then went back to our development and engineering teams, and they did all the work to make something like one-way shopping a possibility, and not only a possibility, but a viable solution because that's the need. Content is also a huge need in some markets, so we're working on our roadmap this year with Rail in Europe to make sure that's a deliverable on our roadmap so that those agencies in the UK, in Germany, in France can turn to us as a solution because that is such a need for them. The second area of growth has to do with how we're selling in the market. And when I joined, we pivoted. I had a team underneath me that was focused on that corporate direct sales channel. And we pivoted away from that, and we're putting all of our eggs in the basket of TMC resellers. We're partnering with our TMC channel partners to say, your sales team have been doing a phenomenal job over the years of building up the Deem network. We want to continue to see that growth happen. So we're putting training programs in place for our TMC partners. We're putting lead generation efforts in so that the lead comes into Deem and we're funneling it right to our TMC partners. And it's been a huge success for us so far. I'll go back to the oak analogy and ask you about if you have a favorite bar, restaurant in New York City. A lot of people will say the Oak Room. It's a phenomenal location. It's been privately owned for years until the Plaza Hotel surrounding it took over ownership of the Oak Room, and they're redefining it. They're using it for different spaces, but it maintains the aura or the atmosphere of what the Oak Room has been for a century or more. Now that our ownership has changed. We're owned by Travelport now. Travelport is helping us to reshape and redefine who we are, Deem, as a company. I know that it's going to come up in some of the maybe conversation that we have on some of the other questions, but it's been a great meld. I had a conversation earlier saying it's giving the opportunity for an OBT's technology team to have a direct contact and correlation connection to a GDS's technology team. So it's been fun. Growth, I'm really excited about where we're going in the future.
Good. That's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
So Deem has done significant work around accessibility for your platform. Can you elaborate a little bit on what's been done so far and what that would mean to our audience here at GBTA?
Another great topic to focus on, and something that we're really proud of at Deem. I have a personal, not just huge disability, but I've always been challenged with eyesight, and disability has always been at the forefront of my mind and my career throughout. So when I joined Deem, to find out how important it was to Deem was extra special for me. So let me talk about it a little bit more. There are federal regulations in the travel industry, depending on the country, as we've talked about, based on accessibility. So a hotel needs to have accessibility features and requirements for those in a wheelchair, for those that have visual and hearing disabilities. That an airline needs to comply to the same regulations that are out there. There's no regulations for an online booking tool to have accessibility features for those that are challenged with disabilities. There are guidelines. There is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, that provides these guidelines that are optional to online booking tools. So you don't have to adopt these. Deem has taken it very seriously, and we are WCAG 2.2 compliant, which is the most recent compliance. And what that means is that as travelers, the same traveler that's that's checking into a hotel or boarding an aircraft will have an accessibility-friendly experience in booking on Deem, on that UX. Our research and development team spent months, if not over a year, doing a lot of research of what it meant for our user experience. And I'll speak to two of the examples. One is the interface is so clean with enough white space that someone with a cognitive disability, someone that needs that white space, that needs the contrast in font, it goes all the way down to the seat selection, the seat map that we're offering up on the display, has the ability for the user to toggle the contrast of that so that they can comfortably select their seat on an airplane without the stress, without not only the visual disability, but the cognitive disability of it being very stressful to go through that experience. So it's very passionate for me. We've won awards for it. We've been on stage presenting. We have spoken about it at local GBTA chapters, and I'd invite any of the chapters to reach out to us. We'd be happy to come out, speak more to it. And then I encourage, while they are our competitors, I'd encourage them, because it's for the betterment of the industry and the traveler. It's not for the betterment of Deem, it's for the betterment of the industry that our competitors adopt the same mindset.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So we spoke with you last year about NDC. How is Deem dealing with the evolution of NDC today?
It continues to evolve. It does. It's been the topic of conversation throughout the conference again this year. And last year, just to give a little bit of a recap, last year I used an analogy that I've used a number of times, and that is comparing NDC to the Rubik's Cube. Rubik's Cube was a fun toy that we all played with, and the analogy I gave last year is that it needs to be solved as NDC on all sides. There was an airline or a few airlines that pounded their chest over the past couple of years because they solved NDC, but they solved it for one side, while the rest of the cube around had still colors mixed up and crazy all over the place. We have evolved over this past year, I'm sure not to the speed that anybody is desiring, but third parties, GDSs have played a critical role in solving for those other sides. And I think we're further. I think we have a few more sides solved along the way. I definitely don't think that the cube is solved. Where it's helped us from Deem, from our perspective, is with our ownership of by Travelport, it's given us the ability to have a seat at the table with that, where I believe, and I put in an article one time that I wrote, that the GDSs need to be the Max Park of NDC, and that Max Park was is the current record holder of the Rubik's Cube. GDSs, there are going to be always third-party companies that can deliver that NDC content, but for the routes that I talked about earlier, the routes in the industry on aggregation are set through the GDSs, and there's a need, there's a responsibility for the GDSs to solve for that. Deem being at the table with those GDSs gives us a great opportunity to be there. The other thing I want to tie in here is Steve Singh did a great job on main stage today at the lunch, and he talked about defining the value for the traveler. That's what we're all here for. That's what all of the booth, it's defining the intrinsic value for the traveler in everything that, and all of the different deliverables or supplier needs that we bring to the table. I truly believe that NDC has not started that way, or maybe it started that way, but it's not there yet. It's really not there yet. There's no defined intrinsic value for the traveler, or for the corporation for that matter. And two examples from that are, one, we don't display in any meaningful way that the fare, as we're serving up NDC content on Deem, that is an NDC fare. Companies have told us, TMCs have told us, it doesn't matter to the traveler what that fare is. So in that definition, there's no intrinsic value for the traveler. I was in another session today, and one of the buyers asked, how are we, or when are we as a corporation going to be able to realize the savings that's been promised with an NDC fare? And how are we going to aggregate that data, that reporting for a corporation? That's still not there yet. I say yet because I do believe that there is an intrinsic value for the traveler and for the corporation as NDC continues to be solved and evolved, and as we work through the APIs and getting the standardization into a better place, there is a value. And that's in that modern retail shopping that we'll be able to bring not only as Deem, as the online booking tool, but through our GDS partners. And the effort of being able to select a seat, to pay for a bag, to do all the things that NDC was intended for, but not yet has delivered. Yep.
Good perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you to our audience for watching. I'm Christina Scott, coming to you live from GBTA Canada Conference here in Toronto 2025. See you again soon.